Friday morning in the marketplace, and people are buying fresh food for Shabbat. And if it's there, it's rural, or like in the old country, whether your grandparents came from Poland or from Persia, it doesn't matter. Friday morning marketplace, they're buying fish. Wouldn't be buying halal, because halal are made at home. Buying veggies, buying fruit, buying meat, fresh slaughtered chicken. And so how the Yetzer, the evil inclination, is thinking how he could trap all the Jews. Where did he find all the Jews? Friday morning in the market. Okay, so he comes Friday morning in the market, and he goes to the fish store. And there's about 15, 16 women in the fish store, all waiting for their fish. And the Yetzer walks in, and he's got his hand here. He says, ha ha, nobody sees what I have in my hand. Ha ha. And his women say, you know, women are curious. Curiosity killed the cat. Well, what do you have in your hand? What do you have in your hand? And he said, you can't see. You can't see. Until the fishmonger, he comes around, and he says, wait a second. Hey, mister, what do you got in your hand? He says, you can't see. He runs out of the store. So now the fishmonger and 15 women, they're all running after the Yetzer. He's out in the street. Now he runs into the butcher. And there's the shoichet. And the shoichet, he's slaughtering chickens. Mrs. Goldberg's waiting, and Mrs. Buzako's waiting, and Mrs. Peretz is waiting. And the Yetzer says by the shoichet, the chicken market, nobody sees what I have in my hand. So what do you have in your hand? And all the women, they stop with the chickens, and they say, oh, come on, let me see what you have in there. No, you can't see. And the shoichet says, what do you have in your hand? The butcher says, what do you have in your hand? And they're all running after the Yetzer. He runs out in the market. Now all the women from the fish market, and all the women from the chicken market, and the shoichet, and the fishmonger, and the butcher, they're all running after the Yetzer. And he goes into the fruit market. And one woman, they're buying their bananas and their fruit, making their fruit salad, l'chavot Shabbos kodesh, everything l'chavot Shabbos kodesh. And the Yetzer says to the greengrocer, hey, bro, nobody knows what I got in my hand. He says, what do you got in your hand? He says, maybe diamond, jewels, rubies, sapphires. What the guy got in his hand? And all the women that are buying fruits and veggies, what's he got in his hand? And there's 40, 50 women all waiting in line to pay for the fruits and veggies. Now they're out in the street, all the way from the fishmonger, and from the chickenmonger, and the butcher, and the shoichet, and all the women. They're all running after the Yetzer. And what's he got in his hand?
Nothing.
And he turns around, and he says, nothing. Now you spent an hour running after me. Nobody's got chicken. You forgot your fish. There's not going to be any Shabbos. Nothing. Ha, ha, ha. You know what the Yetzer is? That Yetzer? He's right here in L.A. He says, close your Gemara and open up a Lakers game. How much is a Lakers game? 2 hours? And then the Lakers lost to the Celtics. Not only were you entertained, you are now depressed. Not only are you now depressed, you wasted 2 hours of cash Gemara time. Or if you're a female basketball fan, you could have done all the Shabbos cooking and the time that the Lakers were playing on Thursday night. Now you're in trouble. Now you did all that cooking on Friday. So you know what happens to the Yetzer Hara when he comes to a Friday afternoon Jewish home where Shabbos is not ready? Woo-hoo! Wow, that's great. And the kids come, and they got grass stains on their feet, 3 o'clock, Shabbat in the afternoon, they haven't been bathed, and the fish isn't ready, and the meat isn't ready, and you know what's doing? You're screaming! And when you're screaming, Shalom Bayit out the window, and the Yetzer, what for? For nothing. Or a little inconsequential gossip on the telephone, an innocent 2-minute conversation, 10 o'clock in the morning. Chafetz Chaim says, no, beloved daughter, use your mouth to say Tehillim. Use your mouth to talk to Hashem. Don't use your mouth to talk about what the neighbor's doing. The Yetzer says, the guy, what happened? So you know what the Yetzer's doing. Not only is it nothing, it's minus. This is what the Yetzer, Rabbi Nachman in Breslov explains, that he runs after us, and he's all the time waving something in the hand. Have you ever seen anybody come off of 2 hours in Facebook? 2 hours, and we know that 2 hours in Facebook is no big deal. By the time you find out what all your friends are. You can have 5,000 friends on Facebook without being a celeb. After 5,000, you get your celeb page, okay? So suppose you don't have your 5,000, you've only got 1,500 friends. But now you want to check out what your friends are doing. 3 hours on Facebook, it's nothing. The answer? Look what it with Facebook. Nothing. Have you ever seen someone come off of 2-3 hours at Facebook? I've got such happiness, such inner peace. I feel so fulfilled. They come off angry, upset. Why did I waste this time? And they make a vow, Hashem, I will be no longer on Facebook. Tomorrow, same time, same station. Right back to the addiction. That's the answer. This is what Rabbi Nachman was telling us. 210 years ago, he told us that there would be a Facebook. He told us that there would be an internet. He told us that there would be all types of evil inclinations that rob up on our time. Hey guys, beloved brothers, beloved sisters, how many people have told me I don't have time to spend with my husband? I don't have time to spend with my wife. Now, let's make a little cheshbon nefesh, a little soul searching. We've been together all Shabbat. We can now really talk like brothers and sisters, and we are. How much time do we spend on Facebook? If we devoted half the time we spend on Facebook to our spouses and to our kids, what would our marriage look like? What would our children look like? That's it. Don't let him fool you. Rabbi Nachman says, Al titein la'olam hazeh le'otot otcha. Rabbi Nachman says, don't let this world fool you. This world is a mirage. Rabbi Nachman says, we believe that there's a next world, but we know there's not a this world. Why? Because it's all sound and light show and evil inclination. And we're not going to let him fool us. The one thing we do know makes us happy, and that's Sam's music. Come on, Sam.
Say 3 times a day in Aleinu, V'chol b'nei basar, yikol b'shmecha, all of living flesh shall call your name. Now how's that going to happen? That's what we're doing, spreading Emunah. And we're colorblind. We spread Emunah to Jews, to people that aren't Jews, because that's Tikkun Olam. When all of humanity, first saying, when, he's older than me. Get it? What? That's so much. When all of living flesh will call your name, we say that's our job as light unto the nations. Now, Hashem turned it around. That Sam is one of the most popular musicians in the world with the Noahide community. You know what the Noahide community is? These are our non-Jewish neighbors that accept the truth of Torah and accepted the 7 Noahide mitzvahs. And last year there was a world convention, and Hashem enabled Sam to participate, and enabled us to participate, and we had a good old time down in Texas. Okay, I just came back from the Far East, and in Singapore, one of the most moving things that happened to us is we gave a lesson in the Jewish Community Center, but there wasn't a single Jew there. There were 125 Noahide Chinese Singaporeans. And we walked into the room, and there was a slide projector that had a Hebrew transliteration, Hevenu, H-E-V-E-N-U, Shalom Aleichem. And there was a Chinaman playing the guitar. Down, 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 Havenu Shalom Aleichem. It was really moving. You walk in there, and 125 Chinamen are singing to you, Havenu Shalom Aleichem. Wow. Is that Mashiach times or not down? Yeah. So great things are happening in the world. And what great things are happening in the world? Rabbi Nachman of Breslev was the grandson of the Baal Shem Tov, the Holy Baal Shem. Baal Shem Tov said, at the end of time, when Mashiach comes, a new time starts, there will not be a single ounce of tshuva that doesn't revert back to me. This is why I bring you down the world. His great-grandson, Rabbi Nachman, took the flame of the Baal Shem Tov, and Rabbi Nachman said, my fire will burn until the coming of Mashiach. What's a fire? It's the fire of emunah, and not just for us, for all mankind. Our job as Jews is not just to export high-tech from Silicon Valley and from Israel, or to export weaponry. It's to export faith. It's to show everyone that yesh melech la'olam, yesh manhig la'birah, that there's a Shem in the world. There's a Shem in the world. I'll tell you a story about the Baal Shem Tov. Baal Shem Tov had a student, and his name was Rabbi Elimelech Adinov. Rabbi Elimelech Adinov, who was a great Kabbalist and a great Talmid Chacham, but he would daven simply, like a simple little boy. But yet, on his stander, on his prayer stand, there was a book of the Arizal's prayers, and all the holy names that no one can understand, and the different combinations of Hashem's name that we say in every bracha, and the 18 prayers of Shulchan Aruch. But it was open, and then he would stand aside and pray from a simple little book, like a little child. Yet he was a great Hasidic Rebbe, student of Baal Shem Tov, Tzvi Elimelech Adinov. He wrote a fantastic book called the Bnei Yisachar. And the students would ask him, Rebbe, why do you leave the Arizal Siddur open? You know the kavanas, you know the intent. Why do you pray out of that? Why do you pray out of a siddur that they give the little kids in the cheder? He says, I'm going to tell you a story. He says there was once a young boy who grew up in the house of a Polish nobleman, raised as a Catholic. And once he was playing like a child plays, playing hide and seek, and he got up in the attic, and he found this bag, this obscure bag, and he opened it up. He didn't know what was inside, but there were these two little black boxes with these black straps, and there was another book in this strange language that instead of writing from left to right, wrote from right to left. Couldn't understand it. But he looked at these two little boxes, and he looked at those letters, and it looked like little flames were coming out of the letters. And the little flames coming out of the letters ignited his soul. And he felt, not like he's on fire, but this warmth in his chest. And he could feel this warmth tingling up his spine. He didn't know what this was. And he started crying. He says, what is this? And all of a sudden he felt strange. And he looked at the crosses on the wall in every room. It seemed strange. It seemed spooky. Well, that night he went to bed and he had a dream. And he saw an old man with a long white beard. And he said, my son, I'm no longer your biological father. I'm an angel in heaven. But you should know you are not a son of the parts. You are not the son of the nobleman in this palace. You are the son of Jews. And there was a pogrom, and the anti-Semites came. They burned down your mothers and my house. But they took pity on you. You were a little baby. And the nobleman and his wife, they didn't have children. As they saw this brand new newborn baby, we can raise it for that. They'll never know the difference. And they raised you. But you should know that you're not Catholic. You're a son of Israel. Went away. The next morning at breakfast, he was toying with the food. All of a sudden, the food didn't smell right. The same bacon and eggs that they would eat every morning. All of a sudden, for some reason, he felt a little nauseous. He couldn't eat. So the nobleman said, my son, why don't you eat? He says, I don't have any appetite. He went all day long without eating. And that night, he had another dream. And this beautiful woman with this pure, milky white face and penetrating blue eyes. And she looked young and she looked old, and she was a kaleidoscope. She was young and old and wise. And he didn't know it's a human or it's an angel. And she says, my beloved son, you know who I am? When I was down on earth, my name was Rachel. And they call you by a Polish name, but your name is really Yosef. Your name is Yosef, the son of Rachel, just like Yosef in the Torah that you haven't learned. But you should know, I'm your mother. I'm not a physical mother anymore. Hashem took me away, al Kiddush Hashem. I became a martyr. I was killed in a pogrom, and they burned down the house and they took you away. Just like your father told you last night, it was a real dream. And don't ever forget you're a son of Israel. And the dream faded away and he woke up. He said, Mama? Mama? He was confused. Who's his mother? The stern Catholic lady that gave him the rosary in his hand and made him kneel down and do all kinds of strange prayers. And this nobleman that made him eat bacon and eggs. He saw these two angelic-like human beings. And he heard parents would say about the Jews this and the Jews that. They've got long noses and they got horns and they're things. It sure didn't sound like the way his parents described the Jews. Third night, another dream. This time, it was Moztei Shabbat, Saturday night, and a special angel that visits Jews on Saturday night. His name is Eliyahu Navi, Elijah the prophet. And that's why we always remind ourselves of Eliyahu and Melave Malka. And Eliyahu came to him, and he says, my beloved son, I'm the prophet. I'm now an angel, but I'm the prophet that tells that Mashiach is on the way. And just as I can assure that you're a son of Israel, and 2 nights ago you saw your father, and last night on Shabbos, I so many Shabbos that your mother lit Shabbat candles, and that's why she could come to you in a dream on Erev Shabbat. Now it's Moztei Shabbat, and I'm coming to you. But I want you to do something. This coming week is Yom Kippur. Rosh Hashanah was last week, you don't know about it. Yom Kippur is the holiest day of the Jewish calendar. Once you go a few short kilometers down the road, you'll find what's called a shtetl. It's a village of Jewish people. Go into the synagogue. But before you do, take that little bag in the attic that belonged to your father. There's tefillin in there. That's what the black boxes are called. You don't use them on Yom Kippur. But the little book with the strange writing, it's called a machzor. It's a book of prayers for Yom Kippur. So that night, very carefully and very quietly, he went up to the attic and took the bag, and he knew 3 times, no, it's a real dream. And in the stealth of night, he left the castle of the nobleman, and he started running in the direction of the Jewish neighborhood. He ran all night long. He didn't know where he's going, asked people, tried to find kind people. Where do the Jews live? By the time he reached the village, it was Erev Yom Kippur, right before Kol Nidre. And he walked in, little so-called Catholic country bumpkin, the adopted son of the nobleman, with the bag, with the tefillin and the machzor. Well, the rabbi obviously saw this is something special. It's not just a Gentile boy. And he said, come in, my son. He says, what do you have in the bag? And he looked. And the rabbi saw the tefillin. He says, you don't need that for now. But what's the book? Oh, the book you could use. So the rabbi gave him his own prayer stand. The little boy, he looked at the prayer. He didn't know which hold it top to bottom, bottom to top, right to left to right. But he looked around him. And all the Jews were saying, Hinenu ba'im litpalel im avaryanim. We're all together, the people of Israel, the good people, the crooks, we're all together to pray to our one God. Am Yisrael as a whole. And we know we're a whole. It doesn't matter who's righteous, who's less righteous. In the 11 herbs of the holy incense, there's levina, lavender, it smells great. And there's helbana, has a terrible smell. But the holy incense is not kosher without both. We need all 11. It's like the Jewish people, when they pray together, they're kosher. When they exclude one another, they're not. So the rabbi saw this poor boy, and he gave him a standard. And the boy looked around, and they're singing, Kol Nidrei and they're singing Kol Nidrei, and he didn't understand a word, but the tears are streaming down his eyes. And he says, Father in heaven, I know you're my Father, because Elijah the prophet told me so, and I don't know how to pray to you. I'm from the village, even though my so-called adopted father's a nobleman. I grew up with chickens and cows. I can cock-a-doodle-doo, but I don't know how to pray to you. So I'm opening up the book, beloved Father in heaven, and do me a favor, you can pray for me. And he said, cock-a-doodle-doo. That was his Kol Nidrei. At that very moment, there was a decree overhanging the Jewish people that God forbid the majority of them should be destroyed. At the moment this young boy's cock-a-doodle-doo ascended to the heavenly throne, not a single accusing angel could stop his prayer. Hashem shed a tear and took the decree and ripped it up. And he signed a good year that year for the Jews of Poland. This is the story that Rabbi Tzvi Elimelech of Dinov said. He says, I am not presumptuous enough to know that I could pray to Hashem with his names. So I pray like a simple boy in the 2nd grade in Cheder. But I open up the Arizal Siddur of the Kabbalic prayers and I say, Hashem, you pray for this. And what I wish for my beloved brothers and sisters at LA, that Hashem personally should pray for each and every one of you. Amen.
Sam Lazer.
I know.